Hey y'all, I'm Led, and this is Led Around Town. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Today we are at Heritage House Fine Clocks and Ceiling Fan.
I'm Martin Vallis. My wife's name's Lily, and of course we own the business. This is the old Arclight Saloon. It was established back in 1885, I think. We have a big mural up there where where shows the bar, and the fellow named Mikulski was the one that owned it at that time. And it's been, oh gosh, everything in the world this building had. We had the Concho Club upstairs where the girls were, and we didn't have a front door at that time. Both doors were in the back, and you took one door to go into the saloon and the other door to go into the Concho Club upstairs. It still has the old original ceiling above this one. Is the old tin plate ceiling.
Oh yeah.
And but this was a fancy saloon back in the early 1900s. It was the place to go. Back then they didn't have a bridge on Chadbourne Street, so the only bridge was on Oak Street. So the soldiers from the fort would come across the bridge and hit Concho Street. Of course, this was the first light they saw, and that was the light of the Ark, and so they named it the Arclight Saloon.
There you go. There you go. That's good.
But yeah, there wasn't. Chadbourne Street ended with Concho Street, and then it went on. Chadbourne went on north to Fort Chadbourne.
Right. That was basically the edge of town right there,
Mm-hmm.
the outskirts of town
Right.
there.
Yeah.
Neat. Wow, that's crazy.
Back then, yeah, it's been a long time. But yeah, this old building. We still have a lot of the original walls in the back and stuff, and of course the original ceiling is still there.
Right, right.
But it's an interesting place. We have our own ghost. She comes and goes, and
You know it's a she for sure.
Well, we think it is. There was a lady that owned the store, or was in the store before we were. She had an antique shop in here, and she said that about 6 o'clock one evening, when just about the time it was dark, she walked into the back room, and this lady was standing on the stairs there, and she said she was dressed in white, and it was a woman. And she said, I got out of there. She said, I took off and I ran. This is 2 years later, and her eyes were still as big as saucers.
Telling the story.
Telling the story. And she had no doubt in her mind that there was a ghost there.
I like to think I wouldn't be scared if I
No.
bumped into something like that, but I don't know. You know.
And what are you doing here? Yeah, we sell a lot of gift items. We have the mesquite lamps, which are handmade by Earl Lloyd in El Dorado. He does these things out by hand and not with a laser or anything like that. Fabulous workmanship. And he makes these lamps and bowls and a few other odds and ends. We have the Galileo thermometers, all kinds of different gift items, fun things. Everybody that walks in say, "Man, y'all got a neat store."
I see a lot of humongous wind chimes over there too.
Beautiful wind chimes.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got the prettiest wind chimes in town at the best price. There's other places that have them, but they mark theirs up a little more. We don't try to gouge anybody.
Right, right.
And
Okay.
that's kind of our thing. And a few old clocks we have. There was we working on one of them that was made back in the early 1800s. It's the movement and everything was made by hand. And somebody sat there and cut out with a saw out of brass plates. They cut the gears out, and that's kind of interesting to
What's
look
it
at.
like working on something like that? I mean,
Oh, it's an honor.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can fix them, and sometimes you can't.
Really?
Just sometimes they're just so worn out that you just have to replace them or whatever.
Right.
But the old ones, you've got to fix them. You don't have a choice because
Right.
there's no replacements for them.
Right.
But yeah, we do that.
So,
a lot.
have you ever come across something where you had to say maybe put your mindset
Oh,
in the way
gosh.
the person was thinking back then when he was making it?
Every day.
Yeah.
Especially on the old stuff. And you know that it was made well because he made it, and it's been working now for 140 years or so. So you know good and well that he knew what he was doing. And that way you don't want to change a whole lot of stuff in there. You know, there's not a whole lot of adjustments to be made. But you'll have broken pivots or polished, things you have to polish out. Gears with teeth missing or some of them are worn out, broken off, that type of thing.
I
You
guess
have to
after
replace
100
all
years
that.
of rubbing against each other, those
Yeah,
parts
they
get
have to
worn out.
mesh, and if they get to where they're worn out and they barely catch, then they start locking. And then you've got to go back in there and rebuild those gears and different things like that.
Neat.
We do a lot of that. And rebuild them and take them apart and everything. You have to regulate them so they'll keep time again. And this particular one has the pendulum in the front and the regulator. So we had to take it out of the case and regulate it first on a stand because the length of the pendulum has to do with how fast or how slow the clock keeps and how well it keeps time. And so we've had to shorten. We started out with it longer, and then we had to shorten it until we're finally getting it to where it's starting to keep pretty close time. And then we can regulate it with the little regulating wheel, but you only have about 1/4 of an inch of play in there where you can work with. So the pendulum has to be a certain length before. Now, the beauty of it was it didn't have a pendulum on it originally, so we had to make one and then start all over again. There's no way of jumping up and saying, put a computer tester on it or something like that. You just have to do it by trial and error over and over and over again until you get it right. And like I say, we're within probably a half a minute or so in a day now. So we're getting pretty close. Now this again is 17th century technology, and we're working in the 21st century where time is split into thousandths of a second.
Right.
And people with their little quartz clocks and watches won't not have extremely accurate time, but this thing here won't keep anywhere near that time because they weren't designed for it. There you go. Larry's putting one back together now. But that's what we're looking at, and that's the reason I think that there's not more clocksmiths and a lot more watchmakers in the world, because it's just so time consuming, and you can't charge what a car mechanic or somebody like that would charge, because people don't need a clock that bad.
Right.
I think we got for rebuilding this clock, we got about $200 for it, and we probably spent probably 20-30 hours. So that's what we come out with, and that.
Right.
This company is 13,277 ticks per hour. The Seth Thomas over here is 9,977 ticks per hour. A grandfather clock does about 60, about one a minute. So that's kind of, I mean, not one a minute, one a second. Does 60 in a minute, and then 60 times 60 is 360 in an hour. And they were taking care of our little girl, and he came to me one day and said, how many old linemen do you know? And I said, well, I don't know any. And he said, there's a reason for that. I want this little girl to have a daddy when she grows up. So he told me that he'd teach me to be a watchmaker. It took me about 3 years to get proficient at it.
All right, folks, that's the show for today. I want to thank the folks here at Heritage House. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Also, for future episodes, hit that subscribe button. And remember, put your boots on, have fun, and stay young.